Hello listeners, this is the continuing video of Mahabharat audio series. This video will be regarding chapter number 80. It's about the death of Abhimanyu. The Pandavas, proceeding according to plan, had closely followed Abhimanyu when he broke into the Kaurava formation. But Dhritarashtra's son-in-law Jayadratha, the gallant king of the Sindhus, swooped down upon the Pandavas with all his forces and enabled the breach in the formation to be effectively and solidly closed up, so that the Pandavas found it impossible to force their way in. Yudhishthira hurled the javelin and cut Jayadratha's bow, but in an instant the Sandhav took up another bow and sent unerring shafts at Dharmaputra. Bhimsena's arrows made deadly work, crashing down the canopy and flagstack of Jayadratha's car. But the Sandhav was alert and re-armed himself. Each time his equipment was broken, he killed Bhim's chariot horses, and the latter had to go into the Satyaki's car. In this manner, Jayadratha, with stubborn valor, prevented the Pandavas from entering in Abhimanyu's wake. The young hero was thus isolated and surrounded by the Kaurava forces. The son of Subhadra was, however, undaunted. He attacked all the warriors around him and slew them in great number. Like rivers losing themselves in the ocean, the soldiers that went to attack him disappeared before his arrows. The Kaurav army reeled under Abhimanyu's onslaughts. Duryodhan's son Lakshman, a gallant young warrior, then charged on Abhimanyu. When they saw this, retreating soldiers came back and supported Lakshman, showering arrows on Abhimanyu like rain falling on a hill. Still, Arjun's son was undaunted, and his shaft came swift and shining, like a serpent fresh slawed and pierced Lakshman. The handsome youth, with beautiful nose and eyebrows and hair, lay dead on the field, and the Kaurav soldiers were filled with grief. "To hell with the wicked Abhimanyu!" shouted Duryodhan, and the 6 great warriors, Drona, Kripa, Karna, Ashwathama, Brihadvala and Kritavarma, closed upon Abhimanyu. "It is impossible to pierce this youth's armor," said Drona to Karna. "Aim at the reins of his horses and cut them off. Disable him thus and attack him from behind." The son of Surya did accordingly. Abhimanyu's bow was broken by a shaft discharged from behind. His horses and charioteer were killed. Thus disabled, the young warrior stood on the field with sword and shield, facing his enemies. As he stood dauntless like Kshatriya Dharma incarnate, he filled the warriors around with amazement. Railing his sword, he held his own against the numerous warriors who had surrounded him, with a skill that confounded them. It seemed to them as if his feet did not rest on earth, and he was on wings in the air. Drona sent a shaft that broke Abhimanyu's sword. Karna's sharp arrows tore his shield into bits. Then Abhimanyu bent down and, taking up one of his chariot wheels and reeling it like a discus, stood up facing all the enemies that surrounded him. The dust from the chariot wheel covered him, and the poet says, it enhanced the natural beauty of the young hero. He fought fiercely like a second Vishnu with the discus. But soon the combined onslaught of the warriors that surrounded him overpowered him. The chariot wheel was shattered to pieces. The son of Dushashan came up then and closed with him in mortal combat. Both fell down together, but Dushashan's son rose again, and, while Abhimanyu was struggling to his feet, struck him with his mace and killed him. Subhadra's son, who, like an elephant in a lily pond, single-handed worked havoc in the Kaurav army, was thus overpowered by numbers and killed cruelly, said Sanjay to Dhritarashtra. And having killed him, your people danced round his dead body like savage hunters exulting over their prey. All good men in the army were grieved and tears rolled down from their eyes. Even the birds of prey that circled overhead making noises seemed to cry, "Not thus, not thus." While there was blowing of gongs and cries of victory all over the Kaurav army, Yuyutsu, the son of Dhritarashtra, did not approve of all this. "This is ignoble," he angrily cried. "Soldiers, you have forgotten your code. Verily, you should be ashamed, but instead you shout brazen cries of victory. Having committed a most wicked deed, you reveal a foolish joy, blind to the danger that is imminent." So saying, Yuyutsu threw his weapon away in disgust and left the battlefield. This young son of Dhritarashtra feared sin. His words were not sweet in the Kaurav ears, but he was a good man and spoke out his mind. Chapter 80 finishes here. Keep listening Mahabharat audio series in the next videos.